Every person has a journey, a reason for being who they are. Have you ever looked at someone and wondered, who really is this person? How did they get here? What's their story? Well, that's why this podcast was created, to listen to other people's life stories. Welcome to the My Story podcast. I'm your host, Ari. Well, guys, welcome back to another episode of the My Story podcast. You know, each episode I'm always saying, I'm very excited for this guest. I'm very excited for this guest. But today, this is a very special guest. So I think everyone is going to love this story because I was really excited when she said yes. So without further ado, hello, Dr. Buck.
Well, hi, Ari. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Excellent.
Thank you for saying yes to come into this podcast and talk with me a bit.
Well, I told you that my job is to say yes, right? As a department chair. So,
Yes.
Of course, I said yes.
As you always say, a closed mouth. How is it? What? How is it? Can you say it?
A closed mouth don't get
A
fed.
closed mouth don't get fed. So I took advantage of that. I'm like, can you be in my podcast?
That's right. And I was happy to do so, honestly.
Thank you. So a lot of your students kind of know your story because you say a little bit about yourself in each class. And that's very interesting, and it caught my attention. And different things you always say, like from being an attorney to doing this, to going to church, to doing that, and department chair, and you have so much on your plate at the same time.
Yeah.
But before we get into all that, your full name, what's your full name?
My full name
Your
is
full name.
Tamara Zellars Buck.
Okay, so you have two last names? Or
Yes.
you have two middle names?
I used to have one of each, and then I got married, but I got married when people already knew me as Tamara Zellars.
Okay.
So I liked my last name,
Okay.
and I had a professional life with my last name, so I didn't want to just become Tamara Buck. Plus, I
Okay.
didn't think that flowed.
Okay, yeah.
So Tamara Zellars Buck flowed much better.
It has a nice ring to it.
I kind of dropped the middle name that my parents gave me, made my maiden name my middle name, and took my husband's name as my last name.
That's interesting. I've never heard anyone do that, but it does. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, you know, people already knew me, and they'd known me for 25 years
Yeah.
working under that name. So I kind of wanted to remember that. And also, my dad only had two girls.
Okay.
So there was no one to continue the name, and I couldn't quite convince my husband to take my last name. So that was my compromise.
Okay, so at least you did a compromise with your last name. So that's actually really beautiful that you thought about continuing in some way your family legacy through your last name. Mm-hmm. So we have heard a couple of last names here. So that's why I started off with that.
Yeah, Zellars Buck, no hyphen.
No hyphen.
No hyphen.
Oh, well, because it's now your middle name. Okay.
It confuses lots of people. So when I make reservations and I use that name,
Yeah.
sometimes they can't find me, and I'll have to say, look for Zellars, and then there it is.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Look for Zellars. Okay. I think, have you told this story to your students at some point?
Probably
Maybe?
I have. Every once in a while it'll come up because you can't imagine how many times my own students throw a hyphen in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a hyphenated name. I'm
It's not
sorry.
hyphenated. So every once in a while I tell that story, and especially to young women starting their careers because they may have the same situation that
Yes.
I have, or they may end up being divorced later, and you
Yeah.
have to decide which name do I want to take. And, you know, that's a consideration is how do people know me and will I still be recognized?
That's interesting. So much goes into a name. So this is another aspect I have never even thought of. So thank you for that. That's a lot to take in though. Zellars Buck. So every student knows you as Dr. Buck, particularly. So I want to talk today more about Tamara Zellars Buck.
Tamara.
I'm sorry. What did I say?
Tamara.
Tamara,
And it can
Tamara,
be pronounced,
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. It can be pronounced all of those ways.
Okay.
It's Tamara, Tamara, Tamara.
Tamara.
Tamira. So I've heard it all of those ways.
Okay.
And most often, people will either say Tamara or Tamara. And I just tell them it's Tamara like camera.
Tamara, like, okay.
Because I'm so photogenic, right? So,
Obviously.
and believe it or not, that always makes them remember.
Trust me, I will never forget after this episode. So Tamara Zellars Buck. So what can you share with us today before I can get into like deeper questions maybe? Who is Tamara Zellars Buck when you ask that question?
Tamara Zellars Buck is a study in contrast. And I mean that in every possible way, because I am a country girl at heart. I grew up in the rural southeast Missouri, and I love everything about rural southeast Missouri. I'm a Bigfoot country girl, walking around barefoot in the country, dirt and grass between my toes. I love that. Sitting out and being able to see the stars, that's me. But also me is New York City.
Okay.
And dive bars in the heart of a metropolitan area. Love that. Love exploring new communities. My secret passion is going and finding the Chinatown in every place that I go, just to see what that's like.
Yeah.
So very much a metropolitan visitor, but I love my deep country roots, and I celebrate them. I am a media buff. As a child of the Gen X generation, I watch TV.
Yeah.
And I love sitcoms. I love, watching television shows. But I'm also an avid reader. And I read 2 or 3 books a week.
Oh, wow.
Still. So, that's how I go to sleep at night, is I read books. So just a study in contrast. I'm a musician. I sing. Can't play, but I do sing. I'm a tomboy. I love sports.
Yeah.
I love rolling around and roughhousing with my sons. But I'm also a girly girl. And I like makeup. And I like to go shopping and try on clothes. And so a study in contrast. That's who Tamara Zellars Buck is.
A study in contrast. That's beautiful, though. It's interesting because as you were talking, you literally described a story in contrast, a study in contrast. So this is different aspects of who you are. So what are challenges that you have faced that has made you the person you are today? Because you're an attorney, department chair, former business owner. I don't know if you're still a business owner or not. We can talk about that in a way.
We can. I've faced a lot of challenges, but I've also been incredibly blessed. And these are things that I have known for a long time. I try to encourage my students to be confident, not arrogant, and to speak boldly about the things that are positive. People like to be bashful and to downplay things, and I don't think that that's necessary as long as you maintain humility, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a very blessed person who was blessed with many talents. And I was blessed with a family that helped me to really grow those talents. I know this.
Yeah.
So when you are extremely talented, and when you do have things like a very supportive family, a modest income that didn't give you everything you wanted, but certainly gave you everything you needed, and you were blessed with intelligence and the ability to ask questions and do those things. All of those blessings also will attract naysayers and jealousy and those types of things. So I've encountered some things because people mistook my confidence for arrogance, because people were maybe jealous of the blessings I'd received. But also, I'm a black woman living in the Mid-South. So I've dealt with racism and bigotry and people who wanted to pull me down because of my identity. So I could go on and on about individual instances, but I think you just segmenting them into the things that you would imagine a person who dealt with racism and sexism,
Okay.
things that you would imagine for a person who was financially comfortable, not rich by any means. We were a working class family, but working class means many things to people.
Yeah.
So those types of jealousies or indignities that anybody who was in my situation would have faced and probably did face, I certainly encountered, and it made me stronger.
Okay. So, can you pinpoint in that range of situations one particular one that made you stronger or made you decide, okay, I was like this, but now due to this situation, I'm going to be this person and this is going to make me stronger. I'm just going to go and conquer the world or do the best I can with this.
You know, I truly believe that my position now and my position even as an educator was the result of my journey.
Okay.
As a student in high school, I graduated top of my class. So number one valedictorian, achieved I earned a full ride to Mizzou.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and as a journalism major, and I got there and had to really bury some insecurities being from this very small town.
Okay.
And to go to this large school, and many people have done it successfully, but I got there, and I think all of the pressures that I put on myself and that others also put on me kind of weighed on me.
Okay.
You know, you're this top student in a very competitive school, the top school in the world for journalism, and I buckled. And I tried to hide that I was buckling. So for 3 years, I stayed at that university. And on the outside looking in, it looked like I was doing well. But in fact, I was not. And now I know I can say I was extremely depressed.
Wow.
But I was hiding that by being me. So being this outgoing person, doing everything, drinking a lot. You know, I hid all of my insecurities, hid all of my I don't want to be here. I don't like this location.
Yeah.
And I ended up flunking out.
Wow.
And it was hard. It was very humiliating to return to that small town and know that I had failed. The Wonder Girl had failed. And that took me about a year to really figure out what I wanted to do next. And I actually ended up transferring to SEMO.
Oh, okay.
So I transferred to SEMO because I went home and I dipped ice cream for a year, and I realized I'm too smart for this. This is not my ending, right?
Yeah, this cannot be the end of me.
This cannot be the end of me. So I ended up transferring to transferring to SEMO, which was really good for me because it was a much more familiar size, and I ended up really growing as a reporter, growing as a person. I met my husband here.
Oh, that's a love story.
And believe it or not, I dropped out again. This time I know. Well, what happened the second time is that I had an advisor who really didn't tell me all of the things I needed to know.
Okay.
So I thought I was graduating, and I got to graduation time. I was 2 months from graduation, and I realized that I was going to have to complete a whole minor.
Oh, okay.
Right. Even though I transferred a minor that I completed at Mizzou because they didn't offer that minor here, it wasn't accepted.
Oh.
And in none of our sessions was I told that.
So you weren't informed of that
I was
minor.
not informed that. He kept saying it'll be okay. And it was not okay.
It was not.
And so I left. I was like, I did what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
This is a you problem.
Yeah.
But it was actually a me problem, right?
Yeah, at the end of the day.
But I just said, I'm not coming back. And I ended up going to work full time.
Oh.
And I worked professionally as a journalist and had a really good career. And the chairperson for the department
Yeah.
was also and see, this is where the God in things comes in. This is where the blessing comes in.
Okay.
The chairperson for the Department of Mass Media was also the Board of Education chairperson.
Oh, okay.
And I was an education reporter. So we were interacting regularly as I was doing my job.
Okay.
He took me to lunch one day and he said, I would really like to have this program accredited, but I cannot get people of color to come here to work. He says, I've tried to hire them, they won't come. So I want to try it a different way. And he said, I think that if you would be a good teacher, and I also think that you would stay. So why don't we try it out? And I'll help you get your academic credentials. We'll try it out. And if you like it, we'll teach full time. And the first thing about getting my academic credentials was I had to get my bachelor's degree.
Oh, so you had to go back to the minor. And,
But guess what? The minor magically disappeared. I took one more course, and they waived the minor, and I graduated. What? I had completed every other requirement. That's the only thing I didn't have. So they made that minor go away.
Wow.
Which was, I believe, always in the power, but I didn't know it, and the professors didn't know it at the time. So times changed.
Yeah.
And I was able to finish my degree and start working as a professional educator while I worked on a master's degree, which he helped me to get, enrolled in. So I enrolled. I'm teaching part-time. Well, I'm teaching full-time, but I have a course release so that I can finish my degree.
Yeah.
And then I was put on a timetable. You have to complete these things within a certain time.
Yes.
So I got my master's degree, didn't have any PhD programs I wanted to pursue. I asked him, can I get a law degree if I focus on intellectual property law? And he went and asked the upper administrators, and they said, yes, we can do that. Because that was a gap that nobody else had in our department.
Oh.
So I was able to go to law school because it made logical sense for the department.
Okay. So you took that opportunity into your hands.
And, and that was hard because it was going to be supposedly 3 years away from my family while I was doing this. And I had school-age kids.
Yeah.
But I came home, and I said, it's going to take 5 years, not 3, because they won't let me go full-time while I have a full-time job.
Yeah.
He went and got my contract changed so that it would say 5 years for me to finish instead of 3.
Okay.
And about a year later, he died. Oh. So this person, in many ways, I believe was an angel.
Yeah.
Right? He was sent here on a mission to help me achieve this thing that was mutually beneficial for the department, but also for me.
Yeah.
And it put me on this plane that I love because I get to talk about journalism every day, which is amazing, right?
It is.
My favorite thing to talk about with people who love this thing called media as much as I do. That's my happy place.
Yeah.
But for him, none of this would have happened.
Yeah.
So I really feel like I was placed at Southeast for a reason.
Yes.
And I will know when it's time to go. People keep asking me that too. Why are you still at SEMO? And I've had other job offers from some pretty large universities. And each time I tell them, no, I'm doing something here. Because I know it's not time for me to leave yet. I have a mission. So 25 years later, he was right. I can teach, and I did stay.
Wow. That story in itself almost made me cry.
Oh, I do cry about it sometimes because I truly believe it's mission oriented, and I love it here.
But it also makes a lot of sense learning this story because you give so much to your students every day. You try to push them to their limit, even though they're like, oh my God, Dr. Buck. Oh my God, But
Yeah.
now, and I know after they graduate, they're going to be, thank you, Dr. Buck. And you're giving so much back to them, but it's because someone gave a lot to you. And that's what you're giving back to each and every student. I need to cry for a bit after this. But so after you did all of that, I also heard that you also are a business owner. How does that work into play here? Because that's a beautiful story, but I have to fill in some gaps.
Well, that is really not my choice. That is my husband.
Okay.
Yeah, he wanted to be a business owner. So imagine 2001 when I started teaching.
Yeah.
We also opened a bar in town. Same month. August 2001.
That, I can just imagine your schedule.
It was horrible. It was for 13 years. I was basically Monday through Friday day teaching, and then Friday night, Saturday night, I was working in the bar. Sometimes in the middle of the week, but actually Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I would work in the bar at night.
So those Thursdays and Fridays were pretty wild.
I didn't sleep much back then, and this includes when I was going to law school.
Oh.
I would come home Friday. I would do my office hours, and then I'd go drop my kids off with my parents and come back and work the bar Friday night, Saturday night, get up Sunday, go to church, crash on my mom's couch for about an hour or two, get up and head to Memphis to go back to law school. And my kids are first and third grade when I started doing that.
Wow. How did you get did you ever had a chance to when did you learn to time manage all of that? What helped you time manage that?
It had to be done. Mm-hmm. Number one, and I am nothing if not determined.
Yeah.
So when I knew it had to be done, I just put myself on a schedule. Mm-hmm. I had a very supportive husband who kept his day job and worked the bar at night. The bar was truly a second job for both of us. Oh. And my mom had retired, and she and my dad was still working, my mom was retired, but they basically kept my kids 2 to 3 nights every week to help them through school in my absence, but also to support us while we were working the bar.
Okay.
So I had a great support team and a supportive husband, and
takes a village.
We did it. Absolutely, it takes a village. But, the bar also helped pay for my law school, so I didn't have a lot of loans coming out.
Oh.
So
it all worked out somehow.
It all worked out. I'm a true believer that you can do anything you want to do. Mm-hmm. So when people offer me excuses for why this didn't happen or that didn't happen, I'm always a person who looks at them with skepticism, because I know that you can do anything that you want to do. Students come to complaining me about school, and let me tell you my story. Or let me tell you my schedule. Mm-hmm. I live by my phone. Even now, we closed the bar. My husband briefly had a different convenience store because it's a weed thing. He's the one working it, but it's a weed thing.
Yeah.
And then now he's a truck driver.
Okay.
But he is an independent truck driver. We own the trucks.
Oh.
So we still have a business.
Okay.
I just don't. I try to tell him it's his business.
Yeah.
But it's family owned.
It's family.
So.
Wow, that's a lot of things within Tamara Zellars Buck. I said it right this time,
You said
right?
it right.
Okay, I said it right this time. I'm going to take that gold star. 2 last things before we close off. When did you hear about the famous saying you say? Who taught it to you? A closed mouth
don't get fed.
A closed
That's
mouth
my
don't get fed.
grandmother.
Your grandmother?
Is a good Mississippi woman. And, my grandmother had 14 children.
Oh, wow.
As a Mississippi preacher's wife. And she raised 10 of them through to adulthood. And every one of those 10, except one, had some kind of formal training after high school. Either they went to the military, or they went to college, or they went to a technical school.
Okay.
Every one of them. And this is a woman who finished high school.
Yeah.
But she had, number one, she was a very prayerful woman, so she prayed all the time, and I took a lot of that in. But she also just was wise.
Yeah.
And she would say these things that were just off the wall, but they made so much sense. And being encouraging people to speak up.
Yeah.
That's an old saying. She didn't make it up, but she used it so well.
Yeah.
And I just live by it. I want my students to be empowered. I want them to ask for what they want. I want them to earn it. I want them to adapt and innovate and change. And a lot of that is written into a closed mouth don't get fed.
Yes, a closed mouth don't get fed.
So I use that and I honor her with it.
Wow. I think I had to ask the question because you use it so much. I needed to know the backstory.
Because people like to sit down and be complacent and know that something's wrong but won't change it. Know that something doesn't sound right but won't ask for clarification. And I just am not that person. I've never been that person to sit on my hands and keep my mouth closed, which has gotten me into some trouble, some predicaments, but more often it's gotten me opportunities. You know, I'm almost 6 feet tall. I'm a big woman. When I walk in the door, I get seen anyway. So if I speak up and speak with confidence, I tend to get opportunities other people don't get.
Yeah.
So I want to impart that on my students. I want them to do the same thing.
Okay. So to close off this, I think this is one of my favorite episodes so far. What is something, what advice can you give not only students, but young people in general who are trying to get opportunities or just like, I guess, a great advice for life besides the great advice you already give? Well,
I think they need to read.
Okay.
You know, I absolutely advocate reading because it takes you into new worlds. I don't care what they read. I really don't. I grew up in the generation that read the back of boxes, cereal boxes, all the time, right? But I also started reading romance novels when I was in the 5th grade.
Okay.
And they took me, I love historical romance novels where you're getting history, you're getting social, you know, you're learning about society and you're learning all of these things just by reading a book.
Yeah.
So I don't care what they read, but people need to read to expand their just knowledge base about the world. But then they need to not be afraid to fail. Not being afraid to fail. I have failed. I told you some of my failures. And my failures have often been very public. You know, but when you fail, you learn.
Yes.
That's how you need to look at it. The other thing I tell you all is this is a teaching hospital, and sometimes you kill people. But the goal is not to kill someone in the same way, not to make that same mistake going forward.
Yes.
So when you fail, if you're afraid to fail, you're never going to learn. You're never going to grow. You're never going to progress. So reading, not being afraid to fail, not being afraid to go somewhere else. Try something new. Go away from home.
Yeah.
Then you may realize how much you like it there. Right?
Yeah.
I told you, I'm a Bigfoot country girl. I'm 30 miles from my hometown. And that's okay. Because I travel extensively and I get new opportunities. And then I bring them back because I don't want my hometown to fail. I don't want the kids of this region not to know some of the stuff that I know.
Yeah.
So I bring it home. So those are the things that I would recommend.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. You just imparted so many knowledge, so many experiences, and I think we can take away and learn a lot from it. So thank you so much for saying yes to this and sharing your story.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking me. And this is your favorite one, but it's only like your third. So there are going to be so many more that are better.
Well, when this one airs, there are going to be a couple more in there. But so far, this story is amazing. So until next time, see you guys.
See ya. Thank you.
If you joined us today, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs some little inspiration. We'll be back next week for another incredible story. Until then, keep listening, keep learning, keep embracing the stories that are all around us. Thanks for tuning in to My Story Podcast.